Today is Thursday, February 9th. We'll tell you about ongoing rescue efforts in Turkey and Syria in the aftermath of what's become one of the deadliest earthquakes in a century. Also, why the problem at the southern border might be moving to the northern border. Plus, what to know about the latest virus outbreak, which late-night talk show is ending for good and what will replace it, and how much Americans are expected to wager this Super Bowl Sunday. Those stories and more coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, frustration is growing in Turkey and Syria, where many earthquake survivors are stranded in freezing temperatures. Sadly, as the days go by, there becomes less of a chance of rescue crews finding people still alive under the rubble. Already, the death toll has surpassed 15,000, and that number is expected to keep rising. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of people are hurt and hundreds of thousands of people have been left homeless. Turkey's president visited the scene of the disaster for the first time yesterday. He acknowledged there are some issues with relief getting to where it needs to go. He explained that it's been tough for crews to get to the hard-hit areas since roads and airport runways are heavily damaged. But he said things are improving now. Thousands of rescue crews and aid workers have come in from all around the world. But the scale of destruction is so wide, they still haven't been able to reach everyone who needs help. Needless to say, it's going to be a long time before life gets anywhere near back to normal in that part of the world. So we're going to add more links in today's episode notes that include ways you can help if you want. Ukraine's president is making the rounds in Europe, pleading for more help nearly 1 year into Russia's invasion. President Volodymyr Zelensky gave a dramatic speech to the UK Parliament. He was mostly asking for fighter jets, but made the point that Ukraine needs all kinds of other supplies too. In the past, Ukraine's Western allies have been reluctant to send warplanes for fear of escalating the war, and also because they can be difficult to fly. But now the UK Prime Minister says he's considering it, that, quote, nothing is off the table. After his British trip, President Zelensky flew to Paris to meet with French and German leaders over dinner. And today, he'll join European Union leaders at a summit in Brussels. This is just Zelensky's second foreign trip since the invasion started last February. The first was when he traveled to the U.S. to address Congress and President Biden back in December. So remember how we told you Texas leaders took people seeking asylum and sent them to New York City? Well, now New York City officials are buying them bus tickets to Canada. This is a change from last year when they welcomed the newcomers with food, shelter, and other resources. Now, Mayor Eric Adams says New York City is struggling to accommodate the more than 42,000 migrants who have come to the city since last spring. As he put it, quote, we are at our breaking point. Still, Adams says no one is forcing anyone to go to Canada, but that if migrants want to go, the city will help them make the trip. An immigration official in Canada called the move surprising and said it might be time for her country to revisit the laws too. Well, this week, former Twitter executives got grilled on Capitol Hill about how they handled a politically sensitive story just before the 2020 election. It's the New York Post story about President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and leaked files from his laptop. For 24 hours, Twitter decided to ban links to or images of that news article. Republicans were especially upset about that since they accused Twitter of just suppressing a story that put the president in a bad light, a decision that could have had an impact on how people voted. Well, at a hearing yesterday, former executives called their decision a mistake. They explained that it's tough to judge what's contentious speech and what's dangerous speech during an election cycle. In this case, they said they mistakenly thought the Post article included some hacked material, but they also made it clear the decision was their own, and they were not pressured by anyone in the federal government. Either way, some Republican lawmakers called for a new law to keep Twitter from blocking posts, or at least to keep the government from recommending it do so. But Democrats called the hearing silly because they say Twitter is a private company that's free to make its own decisions about what to publish. Some of the ex-Twitter execs had a solution of their own: transparency. They say all of social media needs to be more open about how content moderation decisions are made, one way or another. Today could bring some pretty rough weather to the South, Midwest, and Northeast. Severe storms started last night when at least one tornado touched down in Louisiana. It damaged homes, toppled trees, and brought down power lines. A few people got hurt, but they are expected to be okay. Thunderstorms are likely to continue this morning all along the Gulf Coast and into the Midwest. The National Weather Service says damaging winds could span from Illinois to Pennsylvania, likely causing some power outages. Whereas in the upper Midwest, it's snow and ice in the forecast. Snow is likely to be especially intense around Iowa and Wisconsin, where it could fall at up to 2 inches an hour. Then this afternoon, the winter weather advisories go into effect for New York, Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire. They can all expect some snow and ice. We have much more news for you still coming up, but first, a quick break to thank our sponsor, Rocket Money. So try it for free for 30 days is actually enough time to try and completely forget about a subscription or service. Before you know it, you're paying for a subscription you don't use every single month. With Rocket Money, you can change that with a few quick taps. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they forget about, like the streaming service you bought to watch just one show on, or that free trial that you never even used. And yes, I've been one of those people, and I've lost money because of it. Within just days of signing up for Rocket Money, though, I was able to cancel a couple that I forgot about, and I appreciate that I've since gotten alerts when something in my account looks different, so I can check on it before I lose money. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. That's rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. Well, thankfully, we are seeing a big decline in all those respiratory viruses that were spreading quickly at the end of last year. You know the ones, COVID-19, flu, and RSV. The problem is now there are outbreaks of another sickness around the country. Norovirus. That's the virus people usually call a bad stomach bug. It's highly contagious, and CDC data shows cases are going up, especially in the Northeast, Midwest, and Western U.S. Like with a lot of sicknesses, norovirus cases bottomed out during the height of the pandemic because so many people were taking precautions like staying home and wearing masks. Well, now the CDC says we're back to pre-pandemic levels. At this point, experts say it probably won't get any worse than that, though. Still, many health experts want to remind people that norovirus is spread through surfaces, foods, or liquids that have been contaminated, and it only takes a very small number of virus particles to spread. Doctors say the main way to protect yourself from norovirus is by thoroughly washing your hands with actual soap and water. Hand sanitizers generally don't protect you from it. CVS is getting even more involved in the healthcare space. The pharmacy giant announced it's buying Oak Street Health for $10.6 billion. Already, Oak Street has 169 urgent care centers across 21 states that are mostly focused on seniors. It has plans to expand to more than 300 care centers by 2026, and CVS says it wants to help make that happen. This comes just a few months after CVS announced it was also buying a home healthcare provider called Signify Health. And for a while now, CVS has been the parent company of health insurer Aetna and drug benefits manager CVS Caremark. People behind those kinds of deals say putting healthcare payers and providers under one roof helps to keep costs down. But there are also critics who say one company should not be in charge of everything from insurance to doctors to pharmacies. Either way, the deal between CVS and Oak Street is expected to close later this year. Another major company is going through an overhaul that includes a big round of job cuts. The Walt Disney Company says it's laying off about 7,000 people as part of a multi-billion-dollar cost-cutting plan. Disney's recently reinstated CEO Bob Iger laid out a plan to consolidate the business into 3 divisions: entertainment, sports, and parks and experiences. Iger says streaming will be the company's top priority, and he's giving the company's creative leaders more decision-making power, so they'll be the ones who decide what movies and series to make and how the content will be distributed and marketed. This marks Disney's 3rd restructuring in 5 years. Say goodbye to the Late Late Show. After nearly 3 decades on the air, Deadline reports it's going to be replaced. But instead of another late-night talk show, the 12:30 a.m. slot on CBS is reportedly going to a reboot of a game show featuring celebrities called At Midnight. The original series on Comedy Central ran from 2013 to 2017. And like the original, Deadline says Funny or Die will produce the new version. Stephen Colbert will be the executive producer, while still hosting The Late Show in the earlier time slot. Already, the current Late Late Show host, James Corden, announced he would be leaving this summer. So far, CBS has not said when his final episode will air. This Sunday, more Americans will be betting on the Super Bowl than ever before. An industry trade group expects 1 in 5 Americans to make some sort of wager, laying out $16 billion. That's twice as much as last year, which was also a record. This comes as sports betting has become legal in 2/3 of U.S. states, including Arizona, where the game is happening. But analysts say only about $1 billion is going to be gambled at casinos or with companies like FanDuel and DraftKings. Instead, most people are betting with friends and family, participating in office pools, or working with a bookie. As far as what they're betting on, Most now think the Philadelphia Eagles will win the big game against the Kansas City Chiefs, but it's incredibly close. Other people aren't actually betting on who will win, but what else might happen. For example, who will score the first touchdown of the game? And what color will the Gatorade be when winning players pour it on their head coach? Stay tuned. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, a word from our sponsor, Indeed. If you're a business owner that likes to get the news highlights quickly, then you'll probably love Indeed because it helps give you what you need to know fast. With Indeed Instant Match, you can instantly receive a list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. So if you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. I always appreciate a platform that lets you get more done in less time. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/newsworthy to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. More than ever before, Americans are moving south. The U.S. Census Bureau says the American South outgrew other regions of the country by well over 1 million people last year, partly because of births outpacing deaths, but also because of more people moving. The Northeast and Midwest lost residents, and the West stayed roughly the same. If this trend continues, the AP says by 2030, the center of the U.S. population will head due south instead of west for the first time in American history. Experts say there's an allure to the South for a lot of reasons. For example, affordable housing, lower taxes, baby boomers retiring, and a relatively warm climate. Still, moving in general is not as common as it used to be. The Brookings Institution says about 9% of Americans moved from 2021 to 2022. Compare that to back in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, when about 20% of Americans would move each year. One difference there is back then it was more common for only one person in the home to earn money, making it easier to relocate. Still, it seems now when people move, they're more likely to do big long-distance moves, like from the north to the south. All right, thank you so much for listening today and sharing the show. We'll catch you up on more news tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.